Hi again, everybody. Welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue, today at the Ace Club in Lafayette Hill, Pennsylvania. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We've come to the Ace Club today to see how a golf course, in this case the Ace Club, is rated by the Golf Association of Philadelphia. Every 7 years, a golf course is rated.
28.
And today we're going to join a team of raters, R-A-T-E-R-S, to see how they do their job. What's the most important thing in rating a golf course, and what else goes into the mix to determine that rating? It's a pretty fascinating study, and yes, there is a method to the madness of rating a golf course. We'll be back with the Raiders here at the Ace Club next on Inside Golf. Inside Golf, presented by Destination Montco Golf, 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By Jersey Man Magazine, it's a Jersey way of life, and Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.
In 2008, 13-year-old Lester Bell snuck through the fence of Cedar Crest Golf Course. That's where PGA professional Ira McGraw first met him. But back home, Lester had given up hope for a future. So Ira gave the young man a job, became his friend, and 3 years later, his legal guardian. Today, Lester's still golfing, and he hasn't given up since. The best stories end in thanks. Share your story at ThanksPGAPro.com.
At the first tee, they're teaching us how to set goals. It doesn't matter how big or small they are.
I want to break 80 someday.
My goal is to go to college.
Someday, I'm going to be the 4th female president of the United States. Maybe 5th.
Some of the best golf lessons have very little to do with golf. The life skills young people learn at the first tee stay with them long after they leave. Visit thefirsttee.org to learn more.
One of my goals is to get on TV. Check.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. We are here at the Ace Club, and these are, for want of a better term, the Raiders from the Golf Association of Philadelphia. We're going to do something a little bit different, as I mentioned earlier. We're going to find out how a course is rated, how frequently a course is rated, and who are the guys that do the rating. And here's our alpha dog, Glenn Goldsboro.
That's correct.
And Glenn Goldsboro is a teacher. What a great job to have if you're going to be marking some golf courses.
Especially in the summertime.
Pennsbury High School?
That's correct.
Physics?
Physics.
Wow, you must be a pretty smart guy.
Sometimes they say that.
Where do you play your golf, Glenn?
I play all over, usually Makefield Highland, which is pretty close to
Bob
where...
Doria and company up there.
Yeah, great guys up there.
Great guy. Introduce the rest of your team for us, would you?
Sure. This is Jules Quinones. He's
I know Jules Quinones. Don't
way back.
You don't have to. You don't have to give a resume. I know he's a 3 handicap sandbagger, but a good guy. Okay, that's it for Jules.
Bluebell Country Club, I think is where he's from. And this is John Manos. John Manos is the director of handicap course rating for the Golf Association of Philadelphia.
John's already been on our show on a teed-off panel we did last year. Good to see you again, John.
And this is Charlie Stein. Charles is a member at Old York Country Club. And this is John Choika, and John is a member at Indian Valley Country Club.
Okay, so that's your team today.
That's correct.
Now, the way it's divided up, this group of 5 is doing the back 9. You have another group that's doing the front 9.
That's correct.
And you're all working off a sheet. This is the most important piece of paperwork that you guys are going to be dealing with all day. What is on this sheet, and what purpose does it serve?
Okay, so on this sheet we have essentially 5 or 10 different items on a whole that we're looking at to identify different obstacles and the severity or the easiness of those particular obstacles. We have our Bible here that we use, the USGA Course Rating System Guide that we use, that we need to go and look at for some of the wording and specifics of the things that we need to look at. But essentially what we're doing is we're going out some different distances. We're looking at the obstacles at those distances, whether they be bunkers or the rough or the out of bounds or water. And we have to double check measurements that were taken by GPS. And then sometimes we have discussions once we get up to the green, how severely tilted is the green, how difficult are the trees that we, in terms of recovery, how deep are the bunkers. And we get together and do all that stuff basically at the green, and then we move on to the next hole.
And each of the raters has a copy, and they each give their own subjective opinion. And how often do they match up? I mean, do some guys say that one particular hole is easier than another, and then whose job is it to decide, no, this is going to be the rating?
Well, ultimately it does come down to the captain's decision, but usually you let the discussion go for a little bit, and then eventually once we have enough discussion, we need to make a decision and move on.
You don't get into any heated arguments or anything?
No. We might question it.
I know Jules is pretty opinionated guy, and he's stubborn. It's a bad combination for a raider.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we have all these things, and then the other question I have is, I don't know what type of golfers you guys are. Are you all scratch, single-digit handicappers? What is the range of handicaps among the raiders? So, you know, everybody has a voice, whether it be an outstanding golfer or maybe somebody who struggles a little bit.
Right. So we have players, where we have raiders that probably range from an 18 handicap all the way down to a plus handicap.
Okay.
So
everybody's represented.
Everybody's represented, yeah. Unfortunately, we deal with the ideal, or fortunate, we deal with the ideal golfer who hits his shots in the middle of the fairway every time, and they have specific distances for both the bogey and the scratch golfer.
How long does it take the average team to do 9 holes at a golf course?
9 holes probably take us about 2 hours. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on how many different sets of tees we have to rate, and how some of the obstacles, how they require you to do a forced layup or other types of things that we have to do with.
And as I understand it, each course in the Golf Association of Philadelphia gets rated every 7 years. So there's a regular schedule.
Yes.
Unless a course has gone under some changes.
That's correct.
And requests to have that schedule upped inside of 7
So
years.
sometimes some of the courses will do some major changes and they want us to come out and re-rate the course within that 7-year period. Like for instance, we went out to Marion after the US Open. They widened the fairways afterwards, moved some bunkers, so they had us out there after that.
They really softened Marion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my questions have been answered. I'm sure I'm going to have some more, but we just want to eavesdrop on this process because I think our viewers who get out there and always are looking to see what the rating and the slope is are interested in seeing how it all comes about.
Right, and we get asked all the time whenever we're out here, what are you guys doing? And it ends up being interesting conversation back in the
Just
clubhouse.
a walk in the park,
That's right.
Or here, a walk at the Ace Club.
That's right. So these two gentlemen are first time rating. So I'm going to be kind of walking with, so it's perfect that you're here. So I'm going to be working with them also and kind of pointing out some of the things we look at. Mostly when we look at on the tees, we're just going out and looking at if there's any trees in the way, any obstacles. If it looks like it's a pretty clear tee shot, we're going to be going out to roughly 200 yards off of the tee to the 188 to the center of the green is where we're going to be going and taking a look at the obstacles there.
Glenn, a question. Now, you rated from every tee box too, right?
Well, it depends on the distance. Anything over 7,000 yards, we really can't rate. And if the tee boxes are within 25 yards of one another, we can just add that can be done by computer, that can be done by calculation. We don't actually have to go and rate from those extra set of tees. But if there's greater than 25 yards between tees, then we have to rate separately from those tees.
Gotcha. And now, do your job.
I think the first thing we got to note here is this little creek. Is that really going to come into play? So we probably got to.
No, you can see it's 73.
So we're getting a 1 and a 3 then.
And a 1 and a 3, and that 3 is
Maybe a little high.
Yeah, might be a little high. But is there any other water on the hole? Do you remember, John?
No, definitely
Okay. All right. Okay. Other than that, that's
kinda look what's out
yeah.
there.
We can look what's out there. Now the other thing we want to think about, that 73 is 10 yards beyond.
Correct.
Right, for the appropriate carry. So it's to the water, and then 10 yards beyond is a safe carry over at 73. All right. And other than that, we can go.
Go out to 188.
Yep.
Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine, published by former Eagles tight end Ken Dunek, is everything you want in a publication catering to men's interest. Enjoy articles on politics, business, the mob, wine, food, fitness, and travel. Written by the likes of George Anastasia, Bill Lyon, Sam Carchidi, and Mike Kern. Want to grow your business? Ask for information on our Legacy and Chairman Clubs. They meet regularly and can be a valuable tool for your company. Subscriptions are only $20 a year for 6 issues. They're available at jerseymanmagazine.com. Welcome back to Inside Golf. We pick up with our course raiders in the landing area on the 10th hole at the Ace Club.
Uphill level. I'm gonna probably. What do you guys think?
We go mod uphill. That's what
I think it's certainly uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And from the tee, you can see it's uphill. So for the bogey, we're just doing a U for uphill.
And U means what?
U means uphill.
Uphill, okay.
Uphill. So
Now, when you say for the bogey, that's a bogey golfer, right?
Mhm.
So this is approximately the landing area off the middle tees?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's a distance of what?
It's
a little under 200 yards?
Yeah, this is 180 yards,
Right.
and normally they get a 20-yard rollout, up to 20 yards of rollout. So
Sure.
what we're trying to figure out is, are they going to get their full rollout from their tee shot?
Right.
And so
Well, if they hit it up there, they will. Right?
That's right.
If
That's
they
right.
hit it right
If they
here,
hit it
they're
right
not.
here,
Yeah.
maybe not. Right. Exactly. So, and that affects the overall playing length of the hole.
Gotcha.
So that's what we're looking.
And then we'll take it inside of this for the better golfers landing
That's
area.
correct. That's correct. We'll go out to about 230 yards off of the tee.
And see what they're faced with.
See what they're faced with.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. So uphill and landing, and this looks like a moderate stance. So we put an M there, or mod.
What else we got going on here?
Well, we got some extreme rough over here. And anybody got their laser?
I do.
All right. You want to just shoot the? Can you shoot the edge of that?
47.
47.
So, John, or Glenn, what are you looking at there?
We're looking at how close is the extreme rough or out of bounds from the center of the fairway for the golfer. So obviously, the closer it's
the
in,
tall grass.
the tall grass right there, we would call that extreme rough.
How about like on the other side here? We have a rather steep hill, right? Does that come into play at all? Or,
That would possibly come into play in a rough and recoverability part where we have mounds.
Right.
So that could be some mounding. We probably want to go over and take a look at it and see how severe that is. It is off of the fairway, so
And 50
that's one thing.
yards is our threshold. So
Right.
we'll basically just draw a circle, a bubble around the hole that's 50 yards. If it exists
From the center of the fairway?
Yep.
Yep.
If it
Okay.
exists inside of that, we evaluate it. Otherwise, we leave it alone.
Okay.
It's not part of the hole.
Right. You shouldn't be there. Okay, Glenn, now we've moved up to the landing zone for the scratch golfer, the better golfers, right? And how's that determined?
That's determined, scratch golfer is defined as a player who can hit his drive 230 yards in the air and usually gets 20 yards rollout. So what we're looking at is the landing zone to see if they get the true 20 yards of rollout, and then looking at the obstacles that are around here.
Gotcha.
So, now we need to determine, is this uphill, is it level, right? And for me, it's uphill from the tee, but it looks fairly level, right? You're gonna get your rollout, especially if it's dry. Now, we could do rise and drop or mounds. Now, rise and drop is defined as 5 yards, either up or down, and it's gotta be half of the green. But we definitely have this mounding around here, right? You got some here, it's gonna roll away, some there, some here. Yeah, so we just do a +1 for mounds. And here's another thing too. So you see this closely shaved area, right? That is inconsistent with the rest of the rough. So if you look under rough and recovery, you see inconsistent. The thing we have to think about is, does that make the recoverability more difficult? Or more difficult? or less difficult, the fact that it's closely mown there?
Less difficult.
You think less, right? So that's where we take a -1 for inconsistent. Okay, so we're going to do -1 under inconsistent for both and a +1 for both for mounds.
Glenn, I have a question.
Sure.
In addition to you were talking about the mounding and also the inconsistency of the grasses between the primary rough and the green. What about, like, for instance, pin locations? If a green is able to afford more pin locations and some smaller, does that have any impact at all on how a course is rated?
Yeah, the one thing we look at is for the green surface, and we're looking at contour. So that's the one part that we rate.
What about overall size of a green?
That's actually taken into account right here for the green width and depth. So that actually affects the overall playing length, and also affects some of the adjustments that you have to make based on how big the green is.
But for instance, as a rule of thumb, would a larger green be rated higher than a smaller green, or vice versa?
A larger green actually is easier to hit than a smaller green. So as far as the green target value, that value is lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though you may have a 70-foot putt.
Right. Even though you may have a 70-foot putt. Right.
Right.
Oh, hopefully it's not 14 on the stimp meter like it is out at Oakmont, and you got a 70-foot putt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On to 11. There is the elevation here of -40. I don't think it's 40 down. I'm thinking 10, maybe 20.
That's right. That's why it's playing 10 less when I showed it with the slope.
It said 10?
10 less.
Okay, so then -10. So because it's got to be either -10 or -20.
And this is our approach shot, so under approach elevation change for topography, we can put -10.
12th hole here at the Ace Club is a par 3, first one we've seen here on the back 9, Glenn. As you and your raters look at a par 3, are there any things different from rating a par 3 as opposed to a par 4 or 5?
Well, for the most part, no. It's really just like an approach shot. What we need to see is if the bogey golfer can reach the green. Since there's a water hazard here, we need to see if they can carry that water hazard. But for the most part, we rate it just the same as any other one. The only difference really is we look to see if there's any fairway bunkers, and obviously in a par 3, there's no fairway bunkers, so we don't have to. That doesn't get a rating. But for the most part, everything else ends up being the same. One thing I wanted to take a look at from the tee: does this bunker cover up at least half of the green from the approach? So I'm looking back at the tee, the white tee. I don't think so either. Because if I'm looking at it, it's right here. That's not half of the green. Yeah, I don't think it's quite half of the green. So we wouldn't call that a carry bunker there.
So that gets a +1 then, or not?
It's not. Yeah. So if half of the green surface is, you have to come over
the bunker.
Over the bunker, we
regardless
consider
of the length of the hole.
Regardless of now, it's different for the scratch golfer versus the bogey golfer.
Okay.
So it has to have a high. So it has to be a hard green to hit. It has to have.
So
a
this
start
hole,
event.
172 yards or something from the bogey golfer's tee.
Right.
If it had come more than 50% across the front of the green,
definitely would go up.
That gets a
Actually, for the
plus.
bogey golfer, regardless of how long it is or how far away,
Right.
it would be a carry bunker. But for the scratch golfer, it has to be a higher value
Right.
for the green, for the difficulty of the green, for it to count as a carry bunker. All right, let's move on. So tell you what, it's you see the little walking bridge? Can you get that stake just to the right of the walking bridge?
The red one?
Yeah.
So I shot the red one, which is tree, white, and then red. That's what you're looking at, right?
Tree.
There, you can shoot it.
Oh no, down here, this walking bridge
this
down
one.
here.
Oh,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
one.
I was
Okay.
like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's way off from what he has.
Yeah, so 144.
Perfect. Okay, we're good. All right, let's go down to the green. Okay, so we had our carry of 146.28. That looks about 28 from the middle, don't you think?
Yeah.
You wouldn't change that at all, I don't think.
Yeah, it's right on the button.
Okay, perfect. Now, are we getting a bounce in there? Now, if it's less than 15 yards, because it does look like it's going to bounce in there.
If this hits short 15 yards, it's in. It's going. That's right.
Right.
It's in.
But it says if this is less than, if it's less than 15 yards from the, and that is less than 15 yards from here to it, right?
Yeah.
So we can't count that. If we take a look at water for the bounce, do not use if the distance from the center of the target landing zone is less than 15 yards. Well, it wasn't less than 15 yards. So it does look like it could be a bounce. Okay, so we'll do a bounce on that.
Okay.
And now let's look at the green. You've got this. It could be a tier.
This is, I think right here is.
Yeah. Here's the way we got to define a tier. Is it at least 2 feet?
Yes.
2 completely separate? Yeah,
I would think so. That would be tier.
that's a tier.
Yep.
Okay. So we got to do, for green target, it happens in 2 places. So +1 for tier.
Right.
It's green surface. Bogey only, right? They get a +1.
Right.
All right, Glenn, we've seen you with other greens talk about contour. This is the most severe contour we've seen. We've got 2 distinct levels, right?
Exactly, yeah. Defined by the USGA, you have to have at least 2 feet of rise from one part of the green to the other, and it's got to be at least half to 3/4 of the green. And we can see down here, we've definitely got a kind of a flat area, plateau down here, and then you come up this rise and we've got another kind of flat playing area. You're never going to be able to put a pin right along there. And so this is a textbook definition of a tier. And when we do that, that actually comes into play a couple places. One on the green target value, and it also comes in one other place for the bogey golfer. And then what we have to do is we have to look at each of the separate plateau areas and rate those as far as, is that highly contoured, is that moderately contoured, or is it relatively flat? So in this case, if we're taking into consideration the tier, that's moderately contoured, just that flat area, and this here. We wouldn't call it highly contoured because we've taken care of the tier with that.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So let's do an inconsistent of -1. And what that's going to do is essentially take those 2 mounds and make it a +1, but we'll let the computer do that.
Got a young golfer in the family? Whether their dream is to grab a national ranking or just have more fun on the golf course, sign them up for the Philly PGA Junior Tour this summer. It's competitive play on premier courses for boys and girls 18 and younger throughout Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Perfect for gearing up for the next high school or collegiate golf season. Available to both new and competitive golfers. Registration now open year-round. Help your young golfers find or improve their game. Sign them up today at PhillyJuniorTour.com.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Inside Golf here at the beautiful Ace Club. Boy, what a setting we got here with the waterfall and the clubhouse. And how about my group of Raiders here? I want to, first of all, before we close, Glenn, let's talk a little bit about a couple things. I noticed throughout the course of your walking tour, you weren't looking to see what time it was, right? Technology has now changed so much that you rely on this for distances, right?
Very much so, yeah. Before, in the past, we used to have to walk things off and use lasers, but now with the GPS and the watches, GPS on the watches, it makes gathering distances, which is, again, about 95% of the impact on the rating, both for the bogey and the scratch golfer. The GPS makes measuring those distances much, much easier.
A lot of people want to know, after seeing the walking tour and how we looked at where trees are and slope and contours of the green, But what is the overwhelming number one influential thing when it comes to rating a golf course?
It's distance.
Distance.
It's distance.
For both the bogey, and also the scratch golfer.
That's right. Bogey has just a couple of percent more, but it's about 95% for both is really what counts in terms of the overall rating.
Okay, and everybody looks at their scorecards no matter where they play, and they see two numbers, a rating number and a slope number. If you can, once again, in 10,000 words or less, give us an idea what those two numbers represent.
Okay, so when we put in these numbers into the spreadsheet, we kick out two numbers. We kick out something called the course rating and the bogey rating. So we get two values for those. And the course rating, really, if you want to see how difficult a course is, the best thing to do is look at what the course rating is and look at what par is. If you see that the course rating value is higher than the par value, then you know that a scratch golfer is even going to have a difficult time making par on that course. So it's a difficult course. The slope is a line connecting those two. So if you have a little math here, if you have 2 points on a graph, one is the value of the course rating, one is the value of the bogey rating, and you have a line connecting those 2 points, there's a slope connected with that. And the slope of that line, the steeper the slope, the higher the value, the more difficult it is for the bogey golfer.
Okay, and I think, what's the max on a slope, 155 or something like that?
155, yes.
And there's a course across the river
Yeah.
in South Jersey that maintains that 155.
That's right.
And the folks at Pine Valley know exactly who I'm talking about. Hey guys, it's been great. Thanks for allowing us to kind of eavesdrop and take a walk with all of you. Our raters from the Golf Association of Philadelphia, they're working for you to make every trip to a golf course an enjoyable experience. And we owe them a debt of gratitude, as we do to the folks here at the A's Club. For the Raiders, I'm Harry Donahue. Remember now, no matter how bad it's going for you out there, don't pick up, and we'll see you next time right here on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf, presented by Destination Montco Golf, 54 courses, 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By Jersey Man Magazine, it's a Jersey way of life, and Philly Man Magazine, bringing it to Broad Street. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, experts in the game and business of golf. Take time to thank your local PGA golf professional.